Hey, welcome everybody. Coach BK, lead shenaniganer, and Bobby. Hey, Bobby, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, BK. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun. Hey, so tell me, you're doing Ironman Texas. It's 2020, by the way, folks. What inspired you to sign up for and do an Ironman?
So, man, this is a long time coming. So, for me personally, it is a personal journey from rock bottom to hopefully the finish line on April 25th, 2020, down in the Woodlands, Texas. So, in 2018, I got out of treatment for alcohol abuse in Houston, Texas. And a buddy of mine said, and I was weighing about 297 pounds at the time. And just life wasn't going very good for me, BK. And he said, well, what are your dreams? What are your hopes? What are your aspirations? And I didn't have anything at the time. They said, well, hey, they're having Ironman Texas in the Woodlands. Why don't you come out with me and take a look? I think you'll enjoy it. You're a competitive guy. Okay. So we went up there and we stayed for hours, and we were stationed right at the finish line. And the atmosphere and the people, and just, it was so electric. I said, I want to be a part of that. I want some of that. So that started a process for me where went from 297 pounds down to 200 pounds. I've done 4 half Ironmans, two half marathons, countless other bike events, and just really a journey of self-discovery. So Texas is going to be very special because I've been at that race. It's where it started for me. And I also got to go last year and spectate for a second year. So the third time's a charm. I hope it's me to be that they call my name when I cross that finish line.
That is so amazing. And so I did Texas in 18, so you might have seen me finish, and here's my medal for 18. So super cool. We need to make sure we hook up in Texas. And
oh, absolutely.
So excited. Yeah, great race. Okay. So we know that's, really good job, dude. We do lots of podcasts and lots of chatter about how this triathlon thing, this Ironman journey changes you. It's just, some of us just need something to go and do and learn and change and drop stuff and pick stuff up. And isn't it phenomenal how Ironman can just be, I don't know, just a personal growth vehicle that you need?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, going from where I was to where I am now, just the discipline that the sport teaches you, a commitment. And, I think when, at least for me, my problem with alcohol was I could always use it to cover something up, right? In triathlon, there's no line. There's no hiding. There's no making it up. There's no excuses. I mean, it's all out there for everybody to see. Your coach or on the course. I mean, you can't hide. And nobody is coming to save you. You have to dig yourself out of the hole. So while there's this awesome support system around you to help you every step of the way, nobody can do it for you. Nobody can give it to you but you. And just seeing that, I have that power within, and so many other men and women that share similar stories to mine. It's been such an amazing journey, not only internally, but to see other people getting similar things out of the sport as well, well beyond just fitness. And, I do it because, I'm competitive, or I'm doing it because, I want to get in shape. This sport means so much to so many, and it was really easy for me to buy in, gung-ho from day one.
Right. And I was thinking today, so we're doing a nonprofit for foster dogs and veterans and putting the two together, but also encompassing healthier eating, living, how to, without talking about anything being wrong, just here's what's going on. Here's some things to do, very basic stuff. And I was thinking about, military, first responders, police, some school teachers and nurses and people that, doctors, rubber meets the road, and it's a different kind of mindset at a certain point in time. And when you say, I got your back, that means something to them, right? And the triathlon world is the same, because we know that when you get out into that swim, dude, this is a 2.5 mile swim. It can turn into a shit show. It's tough. It's just, there's a lot of people in the water. And, in the triathlon community, it just seems like, everybody knows it's super hard. Like you said, boy, you can get stripped down. You're naked almost, as far as I tell my folks that I'm coaching for Ironman, put your seatbelt on, because Ironman training will hit you in the face with the worst things you do. And you'll have to pony up. You'll have to look in the mirror. You'll have to pick yourself up, and you'll be like, okay, yeah, let's try that one again, right? But the sense of accomplishment and, for you, space yourself out on that finish, okay? Get your own finish and just soak it up. If you walk down that finish, I spent a whole year before Texas planning how I was going to finish, and just that attitude of finishing on my own terms and finishing how I wanted to, what I wanted to show, totally dictated my attitude and what I did and all the small decisions I made the whole race. So.
Yeah, definitely. Seeing, you'll see a lot of people, it's like, somebody got in my shot, or, you hear that from there. But then you have one of the things that, let's see, I guess it was in 2018, there was a strong contingent of participants from Colombia, I believe, and they all carried their flag to the finish with them. And they all did such a great job of taking that and soaking it in, with their pride, their patriotism. And it was something that really stood out to me whenever I saw them cross the finish line. And I thought, wow, how cool is that? So that was something that was seared into my brain. The first Ironman competition was like, these guys know how to celebrate.
Oh, hold on a second. I got to show you mine. I did the same.
Awesome.
I owned the heck out of that. I worked my ass off for that, and it was coming off of my third heart surgery. And
yeah, I read that earlier. That's amazing.
Not giving up. Never giving up. Just trying to find that line. So cool. All right, let's get to, and look at that. There's my rendition.
Yes, I love it. Everything is bigger in Texas. And the medal, I'm so looking. I am definitely wearing that as a belt buckle. There's no doubt about it. That's going to be Monday morning, walking into the office, that's strapped to the belt. That's already, on my vision board, on my visualization, that's happening.
That's Texas's response to taking the national championship somewhere else.
Right.
You can have the national championship, but you know what? We're going to give the athletes a belt buckle. It's just completely probably the best bling that will ever be had. Anyway, I'm excited. Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's run through this kind of chatter about Texas in a different way than what I usually do. I want to inspire people to really look at Ironman as a race and come up to the finish line. I try to coach folks to be confident and kind of really embrace the day. It's going to suck. Yeah, things are going to go sideways. But, like you're going to have your attitude. I mean, you don't have your attitude in check all the time. But just generally when you show up, you're like, I'm ready to put up the whole day. And I wanted to go through kind of the race and that kind of theme to inspire people and to give just little nuggets on, you know, how do you really stay in the game, do the best that you can the whole day. So
Yeah, so I think that's a great ideal. And for me, when I get started, well, and we'll just start right off the gate with the swim. For me, and I know it's going to be the same way in Texas, it's hard to get that adrenaline level down right at the swim start. You hear the cannon go off, the national anthem being played, there's a buzz around the place. You're about to get in the water. At the end, the first 500 yards out, you feel like you're cooking. Like, oh shit, I overstretched myself. I'm out here in the middle, you know. Just so getting started, and especially at a full Ironman, how do you just level yourself out, get started off the right foot, right out the gate with that swim?
well, so the Ironman swim in Texas, you know, it's a really good organized race. It's organized well. There's some walking to be had at that race. You know, and where they have the swim start, there's plenty of room. It's almost like a picnic, kind of just really spread out around the lake area. What I do is I run before I swim religiously. I run like 15, 20 minutes. I run. I don't care if you have your wetsuit on. When I did Texas in 18, it was not wetsuit required. It's kind of on the cusp. So I have a 2-piece wetsuit. So I wore my bottoms and not the top so I can have shoulder room. But I run before I swim to just burn off the stress hormones, stuff like that. And one thing that I do is I visualize the start. Like whenever I'm swimming in the pool, whatever, and I'm already starting this now. I already know what the swim is like. I know what, you know, the visual things are. And so if you can watch some video of the start, every time you go swim, you visualize the swim, you get it in your head. And I always say a mantra to myself, and I do it all the time in the lap swimming. I mean, how many yards of swimming do you actually do before an Ironman?
Right.
A lot. And each time I'm doing my favorite, and it's stuck with me for a good 4 years now, I swim to this mantra, I am stronger, or long and strong. And when stuff's going sideways, I say, you're badass, and I might interject an F word in there too. Depending on how, it depends on if some dudes are like, you know, in this swim, you know, people can run into you and they can continue running into you. So it just kind of depends on how much oomph you need in the moment. But I practice that from the get-go, like right now. In my mind, I just swam 5.5 miles. I did my first 10,000 yard swim. Almost the whole time, I'm stronger. So it helps my body get into a natural, almost meditative state.
Yeah, definitely. So from where I've been, where I want to go, read a lot of spirituality, a lot of psychological books, especially into sports psychology. And, you know, I think what you're describing is what a lot of sports psychologists would call the zone, right? That you're dialed in, you know what your objective is, know where you want to go, you know where you want to get there. Sometimes when you're in training, at least for me, it's like, okay, I've got to knock out this, you know, I'm not quite at 10,000 yards yet. But, you know, I've got to knock out this 3,000 yard swim that or 5,000 yard swim that and sometimes it does get a little mundane, right? So I appreciate the tidbit about the mantra. Definitely incorporate that going forward.
The thing with that swim is, you know, they're going to ask you to pace yourself in groups and stuff like that. I find that type is always a little bit more congested than maybe just the normal age group swims. They're really trying to change up how to make the swim safer. And I'm finding that this kind of rolling start, seed yourself, in my experience, has been a little more crowded. In 18, where I was at in pace wise, I found myself really struggling to find open water for a good mile, almost mile and a half. I was really surprised by how long it took me to find open water. And sometimes it's like that. I sight and navigate really well, kind of like I'm driving on the highway. And it was just a struggle the whole way around. And then after a turn buoy, things started thinning out. When I went down the canal, I felt like the canal was the funnest part. I had been trying to chase down this one dude, and I caught up with him, and we made the turn into the canal, and he's like, "You're not passing me." And I'm like, "Well, I am too." And so and it was kind of fun. We were kind of just grouping together a little bit. I found that the canal wasn't bad at all. So I would really don't worry about it, because about that time you get to that, everybody's kind of paced out and spread out anyway, unless you're super duper fast and like a frenzy, which I am not. But the thing that I tell folks is just learn how to keep yourself in control. And like in the swim, if you get stressed out, remember that your exhale, slowing down your breathing, is probably the best thing that you can do.
Yeah, so let's talk. Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about the canal for a second. And I think it's something that most of us have experienced at one time or another in a swim, in any kind of triathlon. Is sometimes you get crowded, sometimes you get congested, sometimes somebody inadvertently grabs a hand or grabs an ankle, and all of a sudden you're going backwards. For someone who maybe not as accustomed to that, or not comfortable with that, how do you prep for that? I mean, I think eventually you're going to run into it at some point, maybe not this race in particular, but somewhere down the line. So what advice would you give to anyone that, say, hey, in NASCAR, they say rubbing is racing, right?
Yes, yeah.
Bumping is swimming in triathlon.
Race experience for one. So like, and this is one of the things I want to talk about. Early season races, this is a catch, right? Because, it's April. We won't have any races prior, and we'll be getting into the water and it'll be like 50. It's going to be cold. So race experience is one of them. The first year or two I was doing triathlon, I was signing up for all the sprints and just the smallest things possible, just for race experience. Just learning how to get around it. The other thing is that when you're in the pool, circle swim with like 3 or 4 or 5 people and run into each other, right? That's a really nice way of because you're not a fish. You don't have gills. It's not really where you're supposed to be. You're not designed to do this. We are asking of ourselves something that we have been imprinted to not be okay with, because you're like so far from the top of the food chain at that point in time that anxiety that you feel is natural and it's needed, right? And a lot of the times we kind of skate over that, or we judge it badly, and it's just how you're designed. You're not a fish. So the breathing practices and stuff like that. And like I teach my athletes in the run how to use your breath and how to control your heart rate with your breathing while you're running hard, and practice that skill. So then when they get into the pool and they do hard stuff like fast 50s and stuff like that, learning how to calm themselves down while they continue effort with their exhale, with their breathing, and with their mental, you need to chill the hell out.
Excellent.
Right. But I think the circle swimming for early season race might be the best way to do it, because you just need experience with people elbowing you. And so you'd want to have maybe more experienced swimmers say, hey, look, I need you to run into me. I need you to grab my feet. I need you to pull me down. And it would be super duper smart for you to experience in the pool somebody swimming over you, somebody grabbing you, somebody grabbing your face. It doesn't need to be pretty. They don't need to be nice about it.
Yeah.
And just experiencing that and learning that you're going to be okay. And the other thing that I tell my people all the time, I make it almost an adamant rule: do not roll over on your back, ever. Eyes forward all the time. You're in a position of power. You can see, and you could probably doggy paddle or breaststroke as fast as you can backstroking. You don't want to be hit anywhere in the parts. You just don't turn over on your back. Just breaststroke or doggy paddle, whatever you need to do. That would be the other thing that I would say.
All right, perfect. I think that pretty much covers everything that I had on my mind for swim. So coming out the swim, I know that jog up that little hill, there's a little incline to it. It's not flat. So what would you say about transition? Is there anything that somebody that's never done this race, what would you like to tell them about transition? It looks like it's pretty broad and you have some space, but just transition.
Get to the race early, check in, relax, get your stuff set up, and then, prep your bags, and then go as close to the race as you can. Go back and walk through, stop, visualize, tell anybody you're with, time out, don't talk to me, right? So when you get to these races, they set stuff up like super duper last minute because they can. They're shutting things down. So a lot of times if you get there early, you won't see things the way you would race day. So try to get there as late as possible and try to visualize where the cones are going to be and walk stuff. Okay. Try to memorize, like in your transition, hey, that flag was over there or whatever. I used to write stuff on my hands, little cues, because it's easy to get disorientated. If you had a kind of a hard swim for 2.5 miles and you get out and you're kind of a little disorientated or whatnot, sometimes having visual like cues on where to go and stuff like that can help. Visualizing, taking some time to look at the water, do a practice swim if you can, and walk everything and pay attention to what you're going to see. When I do transitions, I slow down. I am not in a hurry in transitions. I don't like stepping my toes. I don't like making mistakes. I don't like getting lost. I'm a cardiac patient, so I can't be running up hills after swimming that long anyway. Sometimes when I'm walking slow, I'm actually lengthening my stride out. I'm stretching my calves. I might be moving my back a little bit. It's a long day. So when you can rest and reset and shake the body out a little bit, you need to take advantage of that, because you're, probably not aiming for, top 3 in your age group.
Right.
So if you can
Not yet anyway.
There's times when you need to slow down and pay attention and not make mistakes. Transitioning is one of them. Don't spend like freaking 10 minutes in transition. Don't do that. Now put the mascara on and the lipstick. Sorry for those that put makeup on. I don't. I was told in Texas to not dilly-daddle. I told my person, hey, and I've made some videos for people that support people doing Ironman. Here's what to say. Here's not what to say. Here's what to expect. Here's what to do. Here's not what to do. And I told him, be nice and supportive and tell me, hey, you look good. Your butt looks good. Make me smile, but also tell me to get my tail moving. The swim to bike is a easier transition. Bike to run can turn into a fog. Just you're tired. And the other thing about transitions is train like you're going to race. That's what I do a lot of. I function either out of a milk cart or out of a bag. And when I'm going from like a swim to a bike, I'm doing it relatively fast. I'm using the same things I'm practicing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So, like in your trunk or, whatever. And that's another thing about early season races is, your logistics are a little bit different than, say, if you were training in the summer. Things would be slightly different, a little more close to race. So I try to like function out of my car or whatever, swim, go home, try to transition similar to what you would do, use the same things as what you would do when you're racing.
All right. Very good. So, it covers T1. Now, last year, I know the bike was very challenging for a lot of people in the field. I know that it was a particularly windy day. I know that bike course dropped a lot of people. It's Texas. It's April. It could be 30. It could be 100, literally. So it's hard to anticipate weather, but that's why we do it, right? It's Ironman. We're ready for whatever.
Right.
But what would you tell, somebody like myself that, spectators really can't go out there to the turnpike to kind of get eyes on it, even though I've driven it. So what would you say, newcomer or first timer, that we need to look out for on that bike course?
Getting out to the bike course, pay attention. I mean, you need to be paying attention the whole time. I say a lot of strong things about the bike. You need to have your freaking hydration electrolytes on point because your cognition demands it and your fueling demands it. You need to be paying attention all the time, not dilly-daddling, paying attention. You need to be paying attention all the time. You need your eyes forward all the time. You need to set your bike up to where you're not reaching behind you doing anything all the time forward. You need to practice the bike stations. You need to practice handing off on that hand. I was in Ohio after a craptastic beginning, and some person in front of me didn't grab that bottle very good, and it was spinning in front of me, and I'm committed. I'm biking through like this, and I'm like, shit. And the volunteer goes, shit. And trying to navigate, you might be going 10 miles an hour and trying not to hit some. So you need to practice certain things, the bike pickups, the bottle pickups. Getting out to the course, you just need to be mindful of the people around you and trying to bike smart. And then on the other side, understanding that there are going to be people that aren't going to follow the rules and are going to they're going to introduce risk. So you just got to be smart. And when I did Texas, that was the notorious year for the rather large bike groups, which ended up in a plethora of injuries. And I got to tell you, that was one of the most stressful things I have ever been through. It was awful because the bike course should be completely perfect. It's wide open. You've got passing area on both sides of you. And that was the problem, really, because you'd have these big bike groups going around you. You just got to, pay attention, getting out there, following the rules, paying attention, and being mindful of, even if things are closed off or whatnot, you've got to be offensive and defensive at the same time. You can't make assumption that things are stopping. Like, I don't ever go through street intersections in Aero anymore. I always come up out. I'm paying attention. I'm watching. I'm saying thank you to the officers, the people that are controlling the streets, but I'm also double checking. That's just me, though, having been through different bike shenanigans. Other than that, it should be a beautiful bike ride. I mean, it's like perfect. It's mostly closed off. It's mostly flat. It can eat your face off, though, in Texas, because that last 20 miles can get hot. Like, it's starting to, it's starting to crank up. Hey, Texas, right? Hey, you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Um, so, it's just, you guys just got to practice that stuff and be mindful of it, and, know the ugly side of it, know the really awesome side of it, and just be smart.
All right, very good. Now, 112 miles, that's a long time on a bike. It just is. Do you recommend to your athletes, you know, from what I read, it is kind of split, that you should never stop. You should always be moving forward. Other people say, hey, get halfway, stop, refresh yourself, get back at it. Kind of what's on your take?
Um, I train them a lot hard. I mean, they'll go 2 weeks in a row doing 120. I have them doing on-off intervals the whole time. I don't train them to play small. So in my mind, I think that you should be on point to be prepared to pedal until you get to special needs.
Well, and that kind of brings up all of those trainer miles, right?
Uh-huh.
There's no stopping on a trainer. I mean, when you're outside, you can coast, you can, kind of slack off a little bit, but there's no way around it when you're on a trainer. And I know that I get a lot more out of a trainer personally than I do outside, just looking at the data off of my car.
I do almost all of my training on a trainer as well, because it's not safe around here to ride. And so the new thing, and I haven't experienced it yet, but I'm getting ready to this weekend, because Zwift is out there and Trainer Road is out there, or just doing stuff on your trainer is fine. And I always say, okay, here's a mile per hour you're shooting for, here's the interval stuff, here's what we're doing. It doesn't matter how you do it, because you can even train on a dumb trainer. You don't need a smart trainer. But Rovi is a new app that has the course on it.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm getting ready to investigate that this weekend and make some videos and kind of spread that out, because I don't think that people know much about it. Everybody's Zwifting it.
Right.
And that's fine, whatever. I'm not a super techie. I'm more of an old school type of girl. But I did Wisconsin twice, and I always was able to get on a virtual course. Granted, you go a little bit slower on your trainer just because that's the way it is. But familiarity with it is really wonderful. And I think for Texas, the getting to it and then just some miles on the highway. I mean, after you do 5 miles on a highway, you're like, oh, I'm good. Right. But getting out there would be really beneficial. So Rovi, Rouvy, is a iPad, iPhone, Android app that has
Okay,
some course
cool.
on it. So that's what I'm going to be doing this weekend, and making some videos on that. Just
All
kind
right.
of an introduction.
Perfect. Looking forward to them.
See how I've heard that it works really well with I have a kicker too. So I think it works just fine. So that would be just like a leg up.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
the thing about Texas, and I forgot to say one thing about transition, something that will really help you, and I've done this year in and out, is I take a legal envelope, and through the training, I write down things that I want in transition. And I'll also on the backside, what do I need in special needs? What are some of the things that I used during training that saved my bacon? Like V8 juice used to be one of them. Now I've switched to liquid IV and 0-calorie Monster. Don't shoot me, but it works really well for me. And write down a list of things that you want to do in transition. And then I show up at the race and put it in my transition bag. And I'll write down, do this in this order, right? Shove something in my mouth, boom, da 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 da, right? And I change clothes. So when the volunteer opens your bag, I think that just about every volunteer in the transition is probably a triathlete that's done an Ironman, because I'm not sure why anybody else would want to be in there. But they'll go through that list and they'll help you. not make mistakes. So that was one thing. And then in Texas, the transitions are long walking. So I don't bike with socks on. And I burnt the living heck out of the bottom of my feet when I was walking because I forgot that the pavement would be hot because it's Texas. And I took my bike shoes off because walking around, like, I don't know, however long that walk is with your bike shoes on sounds awful. But I burnt the bottom of my feet. So I don't know what to say about that. I don't have room in my shoe for socks. Okay.
All right, very good. So that takes us to the grand finale, right? The run, and the run is, what this course is all about. Having spectated this course twice, having spent time in the legendary Hippie Hollow last year, just people are surrounded. I mean, it's amazing. I've never seen anything like it. Spectators all around, which is great for support. But is there anything that you need to watch out for, be mindful of on that run?
I think the biggest thing that I saw and continue to see is that people aren't doing their electrolytes right and hydration correctly. So when they get to the run, they start puking and they start falling out. When I started the run, because, it can get hot. I think it was 85, 87 when I started running, which for a first season race, you have zero time to acclimate. I mean, you can do some stuff, but really you need to be running in the heat to acclimate, and it takes 2 or 3 weeks. So that's the biggest thing that I saw was people not doing their hydration and nutrition correctly and falling down on park benches and puking and just that stuff. So that would be the biggest thing that I, would say about the run. And then just focus run station to run station. Practice that thought process when you're, doing your long runs. Set yourself up to do 3 loops. It's 3 loops of that run. And so figure out where your special needs is going to be at. Right? When are you going to visit special needs? How are you going to do all that? I did mine on the second one, mostly because I didn't want to carry that flag the whole time. Boy, it chased the heck out of me, man. It was awful. I tucked it in my pants. Don't do that.
Oh, gosh.
It was awful. It really was. Of the whole race, that was the worst chafing that I had from the last 8 miles because I had that flag. I was tucked. Yeah, it was awful.
Well, one of the things that I saw a lot of last year were people wearing headlamps. Back on the back part of the course, as you're coming back onto the Riverwalk area, I know that it can get pretty dark back there. What was your experience with that portion of the course as it got later into the night?
I don't deal well with carrying those myself. It gives me kind of like vertigo, a little bit of upset stomach to be watching all the lights bouncing around. I found it really disorientating. So I kind of, when it gets dark like that and it's really dark, I really look down. I don't carry one myself. I have never been able to do it, and I just watch people in front of me. And that's just me. I'm a super minimal racer. And when I tried to carry those one time, it was like, it made me kind of dizzy and sick to my stomach.
Yeah, I can see how, and especially if you don't train that way, right? And how many of us go out and, now there are people that are up at like 3 a.m. running, in the middle of the night, that are perfectly accustomed to it. But when, you do the majority of your training, in daylight hours like I do, it'd be something new. So try to probably stick as close to training as possible.
I really didn't, I don't remember anything being too dark for me.
Okay.
That back, my run was a full moon. I had the best freaking marathon experience ever because I was praying the whole time. I am grateful and I am stronger. And it was a full moon and everybody was walking and I was running. I had a beautiful time. It was fascinating. So I didn't see any dark. I saw a full moon and it was fascinating and I loved it. And it was hard as hell, but because I had this certain goal. And when I took too long on the swim, made it up on the bike, and then I had some heart troubles in the beginning of the run, and I was like, shit, I have to walk. So when the sun went down, I was running, trying to make up time. So I was focused, but I didn't notice much of too dark. Okay.
Well,
What other questions do you have? This race is a really wonderful race. The finish is epic. People support this race. It's, the community and everything's really nice. Like any other race, you have people that don't follow the rules, and that would probably be the only downside that I would say about any race and in my experience with this one. But, you just got to be smart and, kind of, pay attention a lot.
1 second.
He's picking up a package. Package. He's going to be amazing and awesome. You all should pay attention and track him.
Sorry about that. Goodies from Amazon. As a matter of fact, new bike helmet.
I am not telling you what I said on the video while you were gone.
Okay, good deal. So sorry about that. But I mean, just going through kind of everything that we highlighted. I definitely. So a half Ironman is different from a full Ironman, right? And you've highlighted it throughout our session, was keeping those electrolytes and nutrition on point. How often are you going, I guess, with your hydration and your nutrition on the bike and on the run?
I start 2 days prior. I make sure, and I understand this through racing and training, where I'm at, sweat test, practice, and whatnot. It's stupid important. So I start 2 or 3 days before, and then before, I'm drinking a bike bottle with my electrolytes prior. I use a combination of liquid IV, base salts, and Infinite. I see you use Infinite too. Way awesome. Yeah. So generally, I follow the guidelines like on the bike. I'm doing a bike bottle of fluid an hour with roughly 200, 250 calories an hour, mostly Infinite. I'll chomp on some Kind bars here and there, supplement with base salts. In transition, I'll drink liquid IV with my other fun additive. I really do like the 0 calorie Monster. I think it's the caffeine that really kind of kicks it in the carbonation. It is yum. Anyway, and then on the run, you can train all you want with nutrition on the run and training. And the run when race day comes always deviates for me, but I understand what to do with it. And so I'm generally trying to do a 10-ounce thing on my fuel belt, and I'll have a concentrate of Infinite in that, and I'll do that and drink, probably half of a bike bottle of water per hour. It's hard to drink enough water on the run. It's 4 Dixie cups per stop in order to get enough water, and that's a lot. That's a lot of drinking. I ain't got time for that. 2, right? The other thing though is if it's super hot, and I practiced this in Ohio last year, I wear arm coolers, and I don't get anything wet, and I just keep those cool. And I had a handheld that was a handheld was probably 20 ounces. That worked really well for keeping me cool in Ohio, because I could put ice water in the handheld and it kept my hand warm or cool. And then I could pour a little bit on my sleeves. As cool as a cucumber. I did negative splits on that race because of that. And I race with
wow.
Yeah, it worked really well for me, because I intentionally didn't get my head wet, because I didn't want my feet wet, my socks wet. And I just kept my arms cool in that handheld. It was wonderful. So, but I do roughly about 1,000 milligrams of sodium per hour.
Okay. Wow. 1,000 milligrams. All right.
Yeah. Which is kind of standard what most people should be doing, but everybody's a little different. What other questions you got, yo?
Going through and taking notes earlier today, I think we've pretty much hit on everything that I wanted to discuss. Thank you very much for reaching out. I'm always happy to talk and help and contribute in any way that I can, and I really appreciate you taking your time just to kind of walk me through the race. I'm sure this will be very helpful and very informative, and we're 93 days out. It'll be here before we know it.
So, one last question or two. Do you know what your race finish is going to be like? Have you figured it out yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Still visualizing that. I know that Mike Riley won't be there this year, but that's okay. It's still gonna be just as special. But I can close my eyes and I can hear Bobby Whittington's "You Are an Ironman."
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, there's something about that first finish that it's hard to describe, but it's so tough and so difficult, and it's you that did it. Yeah, it takes a village to get to Ironman, but on that race day, it's all you. It's all your mental grit that got there, and all the stuff you didn't give up on in training. And when you go down that carpet and you see all those people and, the triathlon community and the people cheering for you, they generally are like, you're badass, because you are. And it's just such a wonderful experience. So soak it in. Do not rush it. Don't walk down the dang thing if you want. The other thing is you need to find a mantra that carry you through the whole thing. What are you going to write on your hand? What are you going to say to yourself that whole race?
So I have a 3-year-old little boy named Dade. Dade is struggling with talking. We figured out, we thought maybe he was on the spectrum. We were concerned, maybe there's developmental issues. We had him screened, and I said, your kid's fine. He's really a kid. I mean, it's just amazing to watch how his little mind works. He's very mechanical. So as so we're trying to figure out, what's going on. He should be talking. There's 18-month-old, basically giving breakfast, toast. It's like talking very eloquently. So we wound up taking him to the dentist, and they said, the reason your kid can't talk is because he's got a tongue tie. His tongue can't move.
I had that.
I was like, oh. So they go in with a little laser and they do it, and he's starting to come around. And like I said, he's very mechanical, and I have a video of him that I just love, and it's become a personal just mantra for me, where he figures something out and he says, I got this. So that's going right here. I got this. And I can hear his little voice saying, I got this. And on those dark days when you're questioning yourself, man, why am I doing this? I don't have anything to prove to anyone. It's, I got this. So, without a doubt, that's going right here. He's going to be with me on race day. And, And I would tell anyone that is just three very simple words. And when you start to question yourself, just tell yourself, I got this.
Right. That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. That's the kind of good juju that you need, and that will really change things up. You do it out of some, love-centered, powerful energy like that, and it's just wonderful what happens after that. Cool. I can't wait.
Well, thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Yeah.
Very nice to have met you. Looking forward going down this road together. Looking forward to hearing more from you. Your content's awesome. Your story's awesome. So thank you very much for having me. It's been a tremendous pleasure.
Oh, thank you, Bobby. I appreciate it. And I'm just want to help the triathlon world be stronger and safer and enjoy this sport that, has saved my life. It's probably saved yours as well, or at least made it
Absolutely.
just a lot better. And, I'm just trying to empower folks to knock back down for something that sounds big and hard. That's all right. But so have a great evening, and I look forward to talking with you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Y'all take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, Coach BK here. Ironman Texas, such a wonderful race. Doing it this year as well. 18, it was a really good race. It was hard, but it was good. And when you go into an Ironman season, having a real good grasp of where you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, all of that, and how it applies to that particular race can really help you have the best experience on race day as possible. You don't have to suffer the whole day. Going into it prepared is key. And so I offer free athlete health and performance assessments. It's a quick online form, and then we chat on the phone for a bit to give you recommendations, resources, and ideas on how to kind of leapfrog and really strategically plan out your year for a successful Ironman race. Visit my website, bonniekissinger.com/AAH to complete the health form, and we'll hook it up on the phone. Have a great day.